Hey guys, it's Saturday night, so it's time for more development. Okay, so let's have a look at what we done earlier. We were looking at research and updating the master, and this was the code. Now, it worked, but it was doing two at a time, right? Which was a problem. So I didn't think it was that very efficient as well. So now we have chopped it down and changed it to this. This is much more efficient. It calls the controller, tells the controller to update an item, goes through the recipe for that item, and that's it really. So what we're going to work on tonight, or take a look at least, is moving the materials. Okay, so what I mean by that is you'll see here that the material is moving, right? Which is fine if we are researching, okay? But we're not so fine if it ain't researching, okay? So what we need to do is we need to update our material when we aren't researching, right? To be basically doing nothing. Now, having thought about this, let's get it working first. Okay, let's get it working first. So the first thing we have to do is have a look at this blueprint, which is in the science devices, and it's not in there. It's in blueprints. So it's this one here, and this is the one that we're getting the color, right? But at the moment we're only grabbing the first color, right? Which is fine, but what we want to do is, this is on the construction script, which is fine, but our colors are fine, but these parameters here shouldn't be set at this point, okay? So what we'll do is we're going to create a new custom event which is going to switch these on and off. Okay, so in effect we're going to be doing this to start with. Okay, and you shall see from the viewport that these are basically not moving, no animation. Okay, and then what we want it to do is we'll actually be we'll be cutting this and going into the event graph, right? And we'll be pasting these. Then we'll say custom event, add custom event, and we'll say material active. Okay. And this is going to be let's have a look. Our dynamic material. Okay. So when it's active, we set these. Then we'll set another one, custom event. Material inactive. Let's see how we're spelling this here. Right, and we basically copy and paste this part, we duplicate it, and we add it in here. Okay, so we now have a method for which we set our materials, right? So the next thing we do is in our BPC research station, BP research station, in our event graph, actually we do it in BPC research. Right, now this actually might end up getting moved, but we'll work with it the way it is just now. And what we'll do is we'll create a custom, right. So we'll say custom event, and we'll call it activate material. Then we shall create another event, and we shall call it D. In fact, I'll tell you what, we'll do this as functions so that we can make them pure, and then they'll be or is that a good idea? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll go back to the way we were. So we'll activate in custom event, we shall deactivate material. How is everybody tonight? Let me know in the chat. Hope you are all well. Hope you're sitting with your favourite tipple in hand. So activate material and deactivate material. So what we actually need to do here, right, is get our research station. Then get components by class, and it's going to be BP it's not going to be them, it's this thing here, scientific device. Is it actually going to be get component? let's see, cyan. Yep, we're not, that's not going to be a component then, is it? So actors of class child child actor class. I wonder. No. Well, we could do that. Right, so what we need to do is get the child actors and equals no we don't. We've got to do a for loop. Right, so for each then we've got to say equals and it's scientific device number 3 and apparently it's science device number 2. Scientific device number 2. Need to rename these, I think, but hey ho, on we go. Now these are going to be copied to a degree. And branch off of that. And what we'll actually do here is we could add an input. Hey Kofi, how are you tonight? So what we're doing here is we want a is active, right? Hi Jess, how are you? It's going well. You'll about to see how well it's going in a second once I start this up. Well, you might not think it's going well at all actually, but I think it's going well. Oh, that's good, Kofi. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just waiting till I finish this stream and then I'm going to have a beer. I'll probably work on this a little bit more or maybe I won't, just depends. Right, so what we're doing is we're going to activate the material, right? If we are doing research, we need to activate the material. And if we're not doing research, we need to deactivate it, right? So the point being here that we say activate material, okay? And we pop it there. And if it is we're doing this, right? So there we go. And we duplicate that. And if this is false, then we deactivate it. Okay? moving arrows. What do you mean by moving arrows? Elaborate, Jess. Right, so if this is true, then we've got to check our is active, right? And we've got to branch off of that. Okay. And then we get our array element. And we can't remember what we called this material. The green arrows. What, you mean, right, give me a second. I'll save that. You mean those? Is that the arrows you mean? Right, so we need to get this material, right, which is in the scientific device, and we need to set material active. Okay? Now, material, now it's not letting us do that, right, because it doesn't know what these are, right? So if it's true, we're going to have to cast this, cast to scientific device number 2. It's just a panner on the material. I'll show you in a second once I do this, okay? It's nothing spectacular. The material is just arrows, and then you just add a panner to the material. And that's basically it. But I'll show you in a second. So get ready to record. Right, so we're coming off scientific device 2 and we say material active. Okay. And basically we do exactly the same thing here. I don't know why I added that node, by the way. Right, so if we go into false, we add material inactive. Okay. And that's it. That's our code for stopping and starting our material wiggling about in the water, or the water wiggling about. I don't know what you mean by player following, but if you're doing a player following, that's kind of normally done with splines. Right, but I'll show you the material anyway, right? So if we go into materials, it's probably not in there, right? But if we go into buildings and we like go to the minor, and then we go to the arrow. No, it's not that. Right, where is it? I think it's the access point, is it? No. Yeah, that's more of a spline thing. Right, so it's this plane here. Right? So it's this one here. Right, so that's it there. And it has a parent. So that's it. All it is doing the emissive is there so that I can set the emissive if the player hovers over it. But basically, this is the important part, the panner, right? So it's just set as a speed of on the X of minus 0.5. Like if I made that 0.5, it would basically pan the other direction. So you'll see that in a second once it figures itself out, recalculates the thing. And once it saves, right, so you see it goes the other way, right? So this is what the panner does. It just makes it follow the X. You can do it in the Y as well, so it would basically go that way. It would, okay, let's do it. Right, so if I say minus 0.5, right, it'll basically go diagonally, right? But it's just a panner on a material. That's all it is. Nothing to get excited about, really. But if it's for following a player, then that's not really how you do it. So we'll save that again. And that's it back the way it was. Okay? As I said, this is just set up as a master material with a couple of parameters. This is a parameter, and then a panner, and basically the emissive is there for when I hover over it. It basically brightens up the emissive, which makes it appear like it becomes intense. You'll see that in a second, right? But anyway, so from here, if we click on new game, we click on that, then we fire our probes there. Okay, possibly not there. Yeah, it's going there, but it's going to go right on top of this thing. Not that that actually matters, but at the moment anyway. Right, so in theory, no, I won't be teaching you splines. No, I ain't. I know there is a tutorial on getting a player follow thing working. I can't remember who did it, but it's definitely on YouTube. But it's not, well, yeah, you can look at that. There's lots of different tutorials on how you do splines and mesh components of a spline. I'm actually using splines here, but they're dynamic splines, which took a lot of setting up. Right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to set that to research. And yeah, that's right. You'll notice that our liquid isn't moving, right? There's no like liquidy movement, which is what we want. We've got bauxite there, which is ideal for testing purposes. So we can draw our conveyor belts. Jess, these are splines. But splines are kind of out of your league at the moment. That's not being disrespectful, I'm just being honest about it, right? But I will let you know what tutorial I'm talking about. But I would suggest that you don't mess with splines for a while. Okay, so what we've got to do now is make sure everything's done. We can save that, which I just did. Then we can now connect our miner. Okay, and now if we select our research, we can do that. Then we can do a bit of getting more workers by the cheat, the God mode, so that this goes faster. Okay, so for anybody new, bauxite goes into refiner, outputs iron ore goes into smelter, gets processed, comes out as iron sheets. And that's weird. There we go, iron sheets. Then they come into the fabricator, which turns them into research type 1. Okay? And when these come in here, we should see these things beginning to bubble away. Or at least that's the idea behind this. Right, we have a test tube, a research tube. Alright. And nothing. Okay. So it is going in there, right? Let's see if it goes in here. Okay. So it's going in there. Step over. Step over. Is this true or false? False. Okay. If you are false, then what are you? Right, let's see if it ever hits here. No. So this element is never equal to now we could do this manually, but we really don't want to. Right, so I don't quite get okay, we're gonna have to do the old print string thing to see what it's bringing us back. Right. So we're going to get a display name. Right, and we're going to put it up for 10 seconds. I'll move that across. Save that. Right, let's see if we can get this working on the continue, right? So if we click on this, and set that, close that. Okay. So if we redo this, and we do else, right, we can, let's see if it actually makes the correct thing here. Right, we know this one works, right? There's something different between the smelter and the refiner, because this one works without changing anything when you save it, but this one doesn't. It's really weird. So is it going to make iron sheets? That's the question. And the answer is apparently no. Which is bizarre. So what I'm actually, you know what I'm going to try and do? Because I don't know if this actually is going to work, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to try and remove this, right? Now I did do some code which removed the splines that were connected, I believe, but I don't think I tested it. No, apparently I didn't test it. Okay, so that's some things for maybe off stream, don't know. Side layer. So we have to build this again. We'll do 2 probes just in case one isn't bauxite. Right? And finally, the research. Okay. So we're done with that. Now, have we got a bauxite? Well, that one's copper. This one's copper, so we need to do another probe. Do it there for a laugh. And then, since we've got the time, while we're doing this, we can do our conveyors again. Getting rather good at doing these conveyor belts. Right, now the issue with this one is we need to turn that to there. We need to make that that. We don't need to do anything with that. We need to check that. That's bauxite, that's fine. So we do that, but the next thing we need to do is make sure that we've got research, right? And then finally, the next thing we need to do is that. And this isn't even going to fix anything because all I'm doing is checking the child actors. And that shouldn't be doing that. Unless it's deactivate. Right, so that's okay. Okay, so we don't actually want that to break per se at this point, so we shall leave that to do its thing. We have our stuff coming out. We have our iron sheet coming out. This is going to get turned into our research type 1. Alright, here's our first research item. Okay. So once we've got our first research item, oh, it did, and I missed them. And it is scientific device 2s. So we say, is that equal to? And it should be true. Right? But it says it's false. Which is bullcrap. Right, okay, whatever. Right, okay. I'll take that and I'll fix you a different way, right? I'm not going to even check here. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Right, wait a minute. We don't want that. And we don't want that. I'm going to grab this here. Right, and I'm going to do that. Okay. And if you cast... If you cast properly and don't fail, I'm going to then do that. Then I'm going to do that. I'm going to remove that. Take that. Unreal Engine. What do you think about that? And we shall delete this. And we'll put a reroute node there. And there, take that. See what you're going to do about it now, shall we? Right, we'll undo that because we didn't want to delete everything. We just wanted this reroute node out the way. So we shall save that. We shall move these in a minute to reroute them. And now we've got to do this again. When you're doing a lot of testing, guys, this is where you end up with 4,000 save files. And then you basically have to go through and delete them all. Well, what you do is basically you go into the correct folder and delete everything. And let it just create them all again. So, we need our research up here. Spin these round, spin that round, spin that round. And once this becomes active, we can spin this one round. Right. So, that's copper ore. Wouldn't you just know it? So we'll do a couple here just to make sure that we've got a bauxite on the way. And for some reason didn't like that. And we do our conveyors again. But we've got to click on the conveyor if we're going to do conveyors. Right, whatever. Well, I actually had to do that anyway, so it's just as well I clicked on that. Right. So let's see where our bauxite is. Well, our bauxite isn't there. Is it here? Yeah. Okay, so click on that. Now we hit L a few times to add workers. And let's see how this goes, shall we? So you'll see that our liquid is stationary at this point. Which is what we want. We have a nice steady stream of bauxite. Right. Where is our iron sheet? Now, apparently that's not set correctly unless you click on it. I'll need to take a look at that one. But this has been set to research type 1, so that's okay. Did that actually get workers added there? Apparently not. Yeah, okay. I kind of think I know why that part's happening. It's rotating, the final part of it is rotating to the flat of the plane. Oh, we haven't set research. That's okay, because it'll be building up in the supply. Right, so now we've got our thing. Now, if it got to here, it must have actually done it. Right, so the cast was successful. Okay. So we should now see the liquid going. Okay, so why is the liquid not going? Right. So is this true or false? Step over, active. Step into. Oh, I'm an idiot. You've got to set these and then set the material at the end. Right. Now, I'm just wondering here if I need to do it. Right, these are the two things, right? for our material, but if we look at the construction, we might have to do this part as well, but we do need to do this part. Right, so if we copy that, and then go back to our event graph, and then paste that, and we shouldn't need, yeah, we get the dynamic material, and we do the same thing here. And drag this to our dynamic material, and we basically try again, which is not ideal, but as I said, I've not worked that much on the save game because it's a plugin, so I'm probably gonna have to, after I've got certain things I want working, I'll start looking at that so that it becomes easier to test, like in circumstances like this where I'm having to follow a quite arduous set of things to set it up to just test, like in this case we're testing research, so it's going to be just as I've already tested recipes, but you can imagine having to test like a later technology if you don't have it set up. It would be an absolute nightmare. So we've got our bauxite, which is fine. So now what we'll do is we'll set that to that, we'll set that to there. Now I don't know why this one works off the cuff. It's probably because it's set up by default, whereas the rest of them aren't. Anyway, right, conveyors. Conveyor. Conveyor. Okay. And finally, there. And now we hit that button a few times and select research. So now when you go in, it looks like when you go into the research tree, right, basically we can resume that actually. When you go into the research tree, it's not resetting properly, so I can't actually spin the camera around at this point, which is obviously not ideal. So we shall have a look at that in a second. Just resume that. Let it do its thing. we shall await our first. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust my logic here, guys. Right, so are you going to do it? I think it is doing it. Yeah, it's doing it. It's doing it. It's just the angle that we're at that we can't actually see the. Or. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll tell you what we'll do. Is we'll go in here, right? And we shall actually right, we've got a diffuse color. Right, so it's nothing to do with the colors, okay? Hatch rotation, water position. So that should be okay. Right. So that's getting, right, so the only thing is that that's getting our color, right? So I think it's actually working. It's just basically the rotation of the material that from the angle we're looking at it, it actually looks a bit weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue, and we've got nothing there, right? Which is fine, because what we're going to do is we're just going to test our, right? So I can pan the camera, okay? Now if I select research and then close this, I can no longer pan the camera, okay? So we need to fix that so that we can properly see if in fact our material is working for the research, okay? Now what I'm going to do as well is I'm actually going to set up a couple of test keys, so we don't need to rebuild it all the time. All we need to do is hit a couple of keys and it should work, okay? So first of all, I'm going to go and grab a quick cigarette, so I shall be back in 2.5 minutes. Check out the link or the stuff in the thing I'm going to show you, and I'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Okay folks, we're back, and now what I'm going to do is, can I do a direct keys? No. Okay. Can I do an override? Yeah, I could. I could do an act. Right, we can do that, right? And then we could do another override with the end cursor over, right? And then we can now do our material active and material inactive. Right? So now we should be able to test this a lot easier, but we still need our research tree to bugger off properly and set our stuff back. Right? So we need this button closed to do what we want it to do. And what we'll do here is we'll pull in the controller, right, and we'll set the current games mode. We'll set that to be normal, okay, and we'll see if that fixes our issue. So we can continue, right? So we can spin the camera, right? Then we go into research, and if we press close, we can move the camera now. Okay? So I'm calling that a victory. And now if we do that, is this firing? Are any of these firing? Right, if we go back to our here, are these firing? Yeah, apparently. Okay, so if it is firing, let's see if our material is working. And apparently not. Or is it? No, apparently it's not. What, is it? it's doing something. Okay, so that would suggest that okay, I'm not convinced that. I want to see something here. Right? So if we do that, we put down our research. I want a close look at this. Right, that isn't doing anything. But if you look close, it actually starts doing stuff. Now, it appears to me that I do actually need to set these other values from the construction script, wherever the hell it is. Right, and this is it here. Right, so this is our water. And with our water, we set our relative thing. Right? But more importantly, so we're creating our material instance, and that's dye instance. Then we're doing our color. And that shouldn't really do anything. So is it in fact this that's making the difference? Right, so we shall copy that. And we should go back to our event graph. Then we shall paste that. We don't need that or that, but we can plug in that, and then that goes in there. Okay. Now, I don't really see how this would make a difference, to be fair. But we'll go for it anyway. And that doesn't seem to be actually doing anything, even though it is. Even though I know it is. Right, that is just super weird. I mean, the only other way that we could possibly try this, right, is basically copying the construction but taking out the stuff that doesn't relate to the water. Right? So that would basically mean doing this. So we'd have to stick that at the start, right? And then we'd have to stick the other thing at the end. Wait a minute. Let me just try this one thing first. I'm not 100% sure on this. But is this going to be some weird... Right, so basically we move these to here, right, and after that we do that, then we do that. Okay, so let's see if that's any better. So we draw our building. I really thought I'd be finished this. I didn't think this would be as much of a pain in the neck as it's being. And that is doing absolutely jack. Is it actually even going here? Apparently, yeah. Right, so that's doing that. Well, I'm a bit dumbfounded. Because the thing is, right, watch this. This is where it gets interesting, right? We're creating our dynamic material, right? We're setting its color, right? But we're not setting these values, right? So when we look in the viewport, it's not moving. Okay, not moving. Now, right, whatever. So it's not moving. But if I add this to the constructions, it's still not moving. Right, and I'm pretty sure it's this third panel speed that makes all the difference. And now look, it moves. Okay, now theoretically that's all I'm doing. In this part here. Right? That's all we're doing. So to make that clear, what we'll do is we'll pull that down. Right? We'll pull this down. And you can see that all we're doing is setting that material. Right? The material is this. The target is this. The target is our scientific water. And if we were to remove this, right, and look at the viewport, we have our thing, and it's doing all the wobbly stuff, right? But the problem is here that when we're doing it in the event graph and we set the panner speed, and I'm an idiot, right? No, that's inactive, so that's correct, and that's the active, right? So we set those values, right? We add the relative location, just like in the construction script, and then we set the material, just like in the instruction script. But it ain't doing anything. Now here's the interesting thing, right? If I now press play and continue, then we build the research, then I'll bet you it's not doing it. Right? It's absolutely not doing it. That is really, really weird. And the incredible part is, let's see, if we go to not that, it's not that, it's this one here, right, you can see it doing it. But for some reason, it's not doing it. Now, I am severely tempted here to click that, save all, close this. We'll click that. And I am severely tempted to close the whole thing and reopen it, because this is a weird one. And I have no idea what's going on. And sometimes a restart will fix all the issues in the world. So, let's take it from there, shall we? So how are you guys tonight in the chat? Right. So we can try it at this. And let's see if our material has sorted itself out. Or if it's going to be weird. Right. So that's just really bizarre now. Right, I'm going to stop that. And we need to go back to our device. So it's in the scientific lab, blueprints, scientific device, number 2. And we're going to have to take a look at this again. Right, now this is really, really weird now. And let me tell you why. Now, if we look at that, it's fine. Okay, if we now look at our science lab, let's have a look to see if there's anything in the setup that's making this do weird stuff. Alright, if we look at that, we've got our, it's doing its thing, right? You can see the water doing its weird thing. Now, if we look at our event, let's look at our construction. Nothing there to get excited about. Let's look at the begin play. Right, it's not doing anything there. So it shouldn't be affecting this at all. Right? So we're going to take a look at something else. Right? And that is going to be if we place it in the world. If we basically just place the science building in the world, number one, what does it look like? And number two, does the materials move or not? And if that's the case, then obviously when we spawn it in, something's happening that affects the material. Right, so we're going to have a check on that and see where that lands us. Okay, so this is the place that we want to put it. Okay, so if we go back to our buildings and we stick a research down, right, you'll notice that it isn't moving. Now that's even with that being in the construction script. If we run that, that's really weird. That's really weird because this was working before. If I just spawned it in. That is bizarre. I mean, unless I can't see it being that, right? But if we go back to this, you see that's moving. But in ours it doesn't, right? Because I can change this to, let's say, red. Right? And now it's red. Right? And if we look at the viewport, it's fine. But if we press play, it's all weird and not working. Well, I didn't think this was going to be as big a problem as it was, or is. Right. We haven't changed anything here. Right? The only thing that we nearly changed was this. Now, if I change that and save it, I wonder what will happen. Well, it's not going to work. So what we'll do is we'll check that, right? So it goes to the standard, right, which is that green. Okay. And I'm wondering if, so if we set this back, the only thing, well, there's one thing that should really change here. If we save that and we check it, you know, it's went the red colour now. But this isn't doing it. Well, answers on a postcard. Yeah, that's going to be nothing. Right. What I'll do is, now you'll notice, if I do that, and if I do that, compile it, viewport, it still kind of pretty much works. But it doesn't work for our material, which is absolutely bizarre. Absolutely no idea why it's doing this. Right, now here's the thing I could do. Right, if I put down that's got, wait a minute, what's going on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Why has it got 12? There's only one research thing here. There's double the number. Right, wait a minute, press play, right? Why has it got 12? Why has it got that? Because what I'm thinking here is, if these are somehow being duplicated, right, then the materials on top of each other are making it look like it's not moving, right? Basically, the materials on top of each other are cancelling the material out and it just looks red. Okay, that's what I'm thinking here. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to drop one of these in like that, right? And if we press play, right, I'll tell you what we'll do, right? What we'll do is we'll delete this. What? Look at that. Why is that there? Undo that. Why are these here? Why is it spawning those actors? And why is it spawning those actors not as part of the other thing? Now, we do have one there, and basically that should actually be moving like so, but it's not. Right? Let's have a look at our construction script again. Right, and this was all fine. So I tell you what, let's delete that, and what we'll do is we'll minimize it again, right? Because sometimes I don't get it. I don't get it. Right? Okay, you're going to be like that. So what we'll do is we'll take that off, we'll take that off, and that off, and save it. Now, did that change anything? Apparently not. Right? So it's nothing to do with that. Any of that stuff. Let's see. Yep, nothing to do with any of that. So what I'm going to do, just for a laugh, right, is I'm going to break this. Then I'm going to copy this whole lot. And I'm going to stick it in begin play as well. Right, so we create our event, begin play. Then we paste that. Right, so this is going to do it on the fly when we first start the game, right? So as you can see, this is now changed color, right? So what we're going to actually do is we're going to rotate this. Now it shouldn't move at this point, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to press play, and you'll notice that it has turned red, but it's not doing the panning stuff, right? Which is really weird. So I think I'm going to call it there for the night. So thanks very much for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed it, subscribe, check out the description for Discord. You're welcome to join the Discord, where we help people with Unreal Engine issues like myself. And I have my Patreon and my previous Steam game on there as well. So thanks for watching once again. Hope to see you again. And enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Bye bye for now.